welcome to Property Management Tips. Today we're going to talk about tips for landlords, especially if you're a first-time landlord and this is your first property, and always tips that are helpful for everyone that has an investment or rental property. So very important is to have a reserve as a landlord, to plan on at least being able to cover your mortgage for 2 months in the case that your rent is not paid, that your property takes time to rent, and this way you can continue to make your mortgage payments and you're not stressed if you do have a mortgage. Screening tenants. So you may receive an application, and it's very important with that application to have set criterias for everybody. So if you have a certain credit score, that it's your minimal, certain requirements, such as in our case, we ask for 3 times the rent in income. It could be combined income, but they need to make 3 times the rent amount. You have to have the same qualifications for every applicant. Of course, then you want to run their background and not only credit reports, but also criminal, to check court records, job history. So it's very important to screen your tenants. Know the law. It's very important. The laws are constantly changing. Know the laws that as a landlord you may feel, or if you come from another state, that you may feel the tenant should be responsible for certain things and the law doesn't allow it. So you want to be in compliance with the law, because the last thing as a landlord is that you end up in court and the judge tells you that's against the law. So now you just wasted time and money to end up in front of a judge and your court case be dismissed for not knowing what you can and cannot ask from a tenant and what your responsibilities are as a landlord. Competitive rent. Every investor or property owner believes their property is worth more than the neighbor or the next property. So when coming up with your rent, you want to be competitive. You want to make sure that you're asking for a fair market value in rent. Of course, you can ask anything you want. You are the owner of the property, but you also have to take into account, is it important for you to sit vacant for a few months? And how much is it going to cost you being vacant, paying utilities, maintaining the property for a few months? Or is it worth it to be at a competitive rent, fair market value, so that your property gets rented right away? Maintenance and maintaining the property. It's very important for your property to look good. We want to provide a clean front and backyard. I always tell my clients, think of it, we want to give the tenant the property in the conditions that we want the property back. So if we give them a clean property, we expect the property to come back in the same conditions. And it's not always the same for every person. So when I say clean, it could be a total different view of cleanliness from my view than from the tenant or the landlord. So we have a checklist. An example is we open every single drawer in the kitchen. We pulled appliances out. That is what I want clean. I want the property to be clean, and we expect the tenant to return the property in the same conditions. And it goes from everything simple, such as no weeds on the front lawn. We expect the property to not have weeds, to stay in compliance with the association. We expect critical items to be functioning and in good conditions, such as appliances, air conditioning, heater, flooring. We want the property to be clean and in good working condition at a fair market value so that it can be rented quickly, and we provide the property in the conditions that we expect it to come back to us at the end of the contract. Emergencies. It's very important as a landlord to plan ahead. What happens if you have an emergency? If your water heater goes out, your air conditioner goes out, who are you going to call? That you have reserves as a landlord to take care of these problems, because you cannot make the tenant wait to replace a $12 to $15 or $1,700 water heater or air conditioner. What if your air conditioner needs to be replaced? Now we're looking at $1,000 plus. So that's one of the reasons working with us and Monarch, we have accounts with certain vendors that we are able to help you. Once we receive your approval, we are able to do the repairs immediately, and then we can wait for collection of your rent to cover the payment. If you're managing your own property, you need to be able to pay those items up front in most cases for the contractor to service your property. Unless you have a home warranty. And even in the case that you do have a home warranty, with some of them, depending on what the repair is, you may have to compensate the tenant rent credit. You may have to put the tenant in a hotel. If your air conditioning repair, it's going to take a while. If you don't have hot water. So these are all of the things that a landlord needs to think about. It would be nice in a perfect world if you hand over the keys to a tenant and they pay you every month and there is no request for repairs and no problems and there's nothing for you to do. But in reality, property management, it's a lot more than just collecting the rent. Accountability of where is the rent going, what was paid, what the numbers you're going to need for the end of the year for your CPA to deduct your expenses. Also, repairs is very important. What happens if your tenant does not pay their rent? Do you know the steps that you have to do to start an eviction process and what the law says? So these are very important tips for new landlords. So when purchasing a house as an investment property, I would suggest think about all of these items, educate yourself as a landlord, and think about investing in the services of a property manager so that all these concerns will come off your responsibility list and you can enjoy your investment. Well, hopefully these tips have been helpful. If you have any other questions, give us a call here at Monarch Property Management, LasVegasYourHome.com, 702-412-7189.